as permutations and shifting political alliances gain momentum ahead of the 2027 presidential election. There is growing concern about which party stands a chance to challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. With the People's Democratic Party, PDP, struggling to put its house in order, the Labour Party seems to have declined after gaining momentum in the last election, due to the popularity of its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, who has defected to the new opposition African Democratic Congress. Meanwhile, Dele Momodu, a chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, has accused the ruling All Progressives Congress of trying to make President Bola Tinubu the only candidate on the ballot in the 2027 general elections. Joining us on this show to discuss the APC's rumored plan to present Tinubu as the only candidate on the ballot in 2027 is Felix Morka, APC National Publicity Secretary, and Ladan Saliu, chieftain of the African Democratic Congress. Good morning, Felix Morka and Ladan Saliu, for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, Dr.
Good morning,
Abati.
you both. Good morning, you both. Bless you.
Okay, let's start with you, Publicity Secretary of the APC. The president is being accused that, he's more or less creating a one-party state and to be the only candidate on the ballot in 2027 election, as Bashorun Dele Momodu, alleges. Is that the case? And then to Mr. Ladan Saliu, do you share the view that the election 2027 has already been won and lost, with all the governors, with more than 2/3 of the lawmakers, all of them already dissolving into the APC, the ruling party? Well, maybe we'll start with you, Ladan Saliu, and then while Mr. Morka thinks of how to defend his principle. Let's start with you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Abati. Let me say this: the history does not lie, and we have, a kind of political precedence when it comes to, people defecting, or actors or dramatis persona, defecting from one party and running to another party that they felt it was, there for them to catch the golden fleece. And then, it crashed right before our eyes. And you remember at a point the PDP had about 28 governors or thereabout. And that did not stop the PDP from losing election to the APC. And so when you see, I often wonder, why should a governor or governors, rush out of their parties where they won convincingly to be in power, to a ruling party? And the answer is simple, Dr. Abati. Governors tend to forget, or even, politicians of repute, when they win an election and the, second stanza of an election is beckoning, they forget the Almighty God, that first gave them the power to be there. So they forgot that they were empowered by God to be there. They have now adopted President Bola Tinubu as their own tin God. They believe that he can give them power. They believe that he can give them a platform to win elections. They believe that they don't need the God probably you and I serve. And so I'm shocked and flabbergasted by the kind of the politics we play. Let me see if I can remember very well. During the First Republic, there was a problem between Chief Ozumba Mbadiwe, the man of timber and caliber, and the president, Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory. That the president ordered the Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, to sack Ozumba Mbadiwe as a national minister. He did. But what the Prime Minister did was to warehouse Mbadiwe in his office and gave him a position of an ambassador plenipotentiary. And he took a few months to walk the reconciliation line between Mbadiwe and Azikiwe, to the extent that he was able to broker a rapprochement. And eventually, Mbadiwe was returned as a cabinet minister. He had the chance, the Prime Minister, to say, okay, since you are sacked, come to the NPC. But he left him to be where he was in the NCNC. Politics in Nigeria should be that the ruling party, whichever party, must understand that the practices and principles of, present-day democracy, the empirical democracy we practice, cannot exist without an opposition. And any attempt to emasculate the opposition, either through political inducement or using the instrument of the state to coerce or intimidate the opposition, will not work. So the governors are rushing because, time will tell. And probably when we had, an audit of their accounts post 2027, we'll have a revelation that may give credence to what a governor that was in a given party that now defected to the APC said that at the time he didn't defect, it was because he was not given money.
Okay,
but he said, he alleged that his colleagues were given money, and that was why they defected.
Okay,
so
sorry to interrupt you.
This is what we have.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let's hear from the APC Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Doctor. First of all, let me say that I'm not really sure why this conversation has become elevated to the level that it is. Because, if this discussion is prompted or was prompted by the recent defections by certain governors into the All Progressives Congress, this is not the first time this is happening in our country. Between 1999 and 2007, we also witnessed a large concentration of, governors in the People's Democratic Party. At that time, the PDP governed this country with upwards of 30 governors. So we're not witnessing anything today that is really extraordinary or that is, novel in our democracy. We have to situate this conversation against the backdrop of Nigeria's democratic, ground norm, our constitution that gives every individual citizen the right to participate and the right to associate with any political persuasion of their choosing. The governors who have come into the APC have come into the APC because they choose, underscore that word, they choose to come into the APC. Because, neither my dear brother who is here with me in the studio, nor anyone else outside has managed to offer any credible, sensible explanation or justification for the suggestion that the APC or Mr. President is doing anything extraordinary or untoward to persuade or twist these governors to join in. Dr. Bati, I've always asked this question. How do you untwist a governor like the governor of Delta State? That is one of the richest states, subnationals in this country. What do you do? What do you offer him as an incentive to join? Dr. Bati, don't forget that my governor, Governor Oboruwere, has, his party, the former party that he belonged to, had been very successful at elections since 1999. They have governed Delta State. You must ask yourself, and Nigerians must ask the question, what then was the reason for a governor who was a member of a party that was, consistently successful to decide to leave their party? You see, let me tell you, all of this is like the ostrich that buries its head in the sand and thinks that it's not exposed. Its entire body is exposed. The PDP has become utterly dysfunctional. The PDP is no longer able to call itself a political party, properly so called, because it's incapable by its own internal dysfunction to offer its members any credible, sensible, smart, actionable platform to pursue their political aspirations. So that's on the one hand. So when people move and drift into the APC, it's an endorsement of the APC. It's a statement that the APC, is able to offer them what the PDP is not able to offer them, what the Labour Party is not able to offer them, what the ADC is not able to offer them. And that's not our fault. Right. So when people suggest that because of that, the country is turning towards a one-party state, that is utterly mischievous, because, it doesn't really take into account the history, and it doesn't take into account the exigencies and the realities of a democratic society like we have in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morka. Of course, we expected that you would speak about the fact that the APC is so solid, hence there are droves. People are rushing there in droves. Well, the truth is that you're saying that how can you intimidate, or what kind of attraction would be there for a governor like Delta State? But you would agree that the APC has been accused of being instrumental to the, shall I say, decimation or disintegration of other opposition parties. PDP, Labour Party. I mean, the case in point is that there's a PDP chieftain currently serving in the APC government and has openly said that he will do everything to work for your principal. And we have seen him do a lot to ensure that the PDP does not stand. And so a number of them actually leave the party because they have no other options politically, if I could say that. What would you have to say about that? When we talk about the center, a number of them have also said when they align with the center, it would be better for the people in their state. A case in point is that one of the states that is not an APC state is being given a lot of help for their local government chairman. Osun State, for instance. So a state that is not for the party are thrown different, challenges here and there. So what Nigerians are asking for, perhaps the parties, is give everybody a level playing field. And let's see to what extent the APC will be able to attract so many of these governors who are moving for political gain. Now, I'd like you to respond to that. Then for Mr. Salihu, what difference is the ADC presenting different from the APC? Because in truth, if you look at the makeup of the party currently, they're just people that maybe were disgruntled or might not have found a ticket in the APC or other parties, and I've just gone to pitch their tent to the ADC. Are there new ideas? What is the ideology of the ADC? Are members coming to the party because they believe that, okay, this is a vehicle that would bring change? What is the difference between the ADC and the APC or other political parties that we haven't seen before? This question is for both of you. I'll start with Mr. Morka.
Yes, thank you, Ayo. Now, first of all, you must grant that facility of presumption that every Nigerian is free to support and to participate or to belong to or to hold their own political opinions, irrespective, as a citizen, as an individual. They're not just liable to kowtow with the direction of their parties. Fundamentally, their citizenship and their right to hold personal opinions and participate and associate politically trumps every other associational rights, like membership of a political party. So if there's any Nigerian you associate with a political tendency or party who today is professing support for, a political individual like the president, listen, you know what? There's no countermanding measure to, chill that individual or to, circumscribe their freedom to hold those opinions. So I say that as a general rule. Now, having said that, the president is not a participant. The president, the reason you see these governors and people coming to the APC, look, I have talked to virtually all the governors who have come into the APC, and I've asked them, because I've been curious, why did you abandon your party to come in? You know, many of them, the majority of them, told me that, look, this president is very unusual president, that even prior to, since the inauguration of this administration, that the president had related to them as though they were members of his party. The president had been almost like, completely non-discriminatory politically to these governors. He's attended to their issues and sometimes even offered help where they have not asked for it, to support them, because the president views Nigeria as one constituency, irrespective of these political divisions. So these governors, have related to this president seamlessly, without political barriers or coloration. So, look, we can sit at home and wonder why they are, joining the APC. But these governors and those who are joining the APC understand fully well that there's been no extraordinary pressure on them to join, because those pressures are not in fact possible. Now, let me tell you what the ADC and their problem is. The ADC has made attacking the APC its only and singular manifesto. The APC has no other offering to Nigeria or to Nigerians outside of attacking the APC. Attacking the APC has become their DNA. And, they believe erroneously that attacking the APC will get them elected to office. Nigerians are smarter. Nigerians are more discerning. They will not vote ADC because they attack the APC almost without any causation, just irresponsibly, to just declare the APC has failed because they choose to say that. ADC has not offered Nigerians any alternative thoughts, any alternative prescription, any alternative agenda different from what the APC is doing. You know what? Let me, on your show, let me even go this far to suggest, just recently, they issued a statement where they, lampooned the APC for, we introduced the fuel subsidy system, or remove the fuel subsidy system and the, harmonization of the exchange rates. And because of that, poverty has increased in Nigeria. Now, let me ask this question and let me challenge the ADC. I want my dear brother who is sitting here or anyone else in the ADC to come out today and tell Nigerians that, should they, and I know that Nigerians will not even take that gamble, come anywhere near the seat of power, let them assure Nigerians that ahead of the elections, that they will roll back the fuel subsidy, fuel subsidy. They will restore fuel subsidy as it was, or in fact, restore the exchange rate, the dual exchange rate as it was. I challenge them to actually do that, because, it's easy to criticize, but not easy to actually prescribe alternative, measures to attend to Nigeria's, challenges.
Thank you very much,
at this time.
And I'm glad that Mr. Salihu is there to respond directly to your challenge. But I'd like him to respond to my question first, and then he can respond to your challenge around an alternative solution to some of the criticisms they have made forward recently. Mr. Salihu, please go ahead.
Well, let me say that, we expect to hear a lot of literature, a lot of prose from, the minders of a failing government. To me, the submission of the APC and the way they cry foul over the agony of Nigerians and try to, subsidize truth, to make it look like Nigerians are not suffering, to make it look like there is no endemic poverty in the land, and to make it look like, due to selective bad governance, misgovernance, that, Nigeria is getting better by the day. But to the fundamental issue, which is facing the real issues of leadership. Look, the fear of the African Democratic Congress is the beginning of wisdom for the APC. That is why they have ranged all the guns against, our party. They've run to the courts through their surrogates and sponsored actors to suggest that, the ADC should be deregistered. And then, as an afterthought, they now added Zenith and Accord parties to suggest that, and then right before our eyes, the nation, has seen 9 senators defect from other parties to the ADC. We equally know that in the past there was a member of the State Assembly and one other person that was elected, and we had offices in 36, not 2/3 of the states of the country, and that we are consolidating all opposition forces to face this government that has rendered this country's democracy, almost a laughingstock in the international community. And not only that, they have created a situation in which you have, contrary to what my brother here said. Look, remember the interview Makinde gave to a network where he said the FCT minister, Wike, right before the president, told the president that he was enlisting Makinde to destroy the PDP. And up till this moment, the FCT minister did not deny that statement. So to sit down and suggest that all is well and that the APC and other political parties that are in the opposition are doing so because they are rudderless, that is a literature from the APC playbook. What we know is that we are aggregating all the forces of the opposition to contest the 2027 elections in a manner that we will rescue Nigeria. Right now, as we speak, everybody knows that the country's democracy is on a life support. And there is nothing anybody can say in the studio that will take out the agony, the suffering of Nigerians out there. And let me land on the issue of fuel subsidy. Just a second. The idea of removing fuel subsidy was first mooted by who? Atiku Abubakar. And people in the ADC and in the APC came out then. It was a metamorphosis of a party that was coming together then. There was no names. They did not call Atiku Abubakar when he suggested that, the regulation should be wholesale. I mean, should be done 100%, that the NNPC should be unbundled. And some of them got to town and said, no, he is planning to sell the NNPC to his friends. And here we are with the same thing that Atiku Abubakar suggested years ago. So to sit down and tell Nigerians that the fuel subsidy, that we should roll back, that's not the issue. The issue is face Nigerians, face governance, face poverty, face insecurity, face the issues that everyday Nigerian agonizes about. But what do you do? Instead, they are out on recruiting people into their fold by fair or foul means. That is what is happening.
Okay. To both of you, and I'm sure Mr. Moka might want to respond, but for me, I don't think Mr. Ladan, really treated the challenge properly and enunciated and talked about policy, like I would have loved him to talk about policy on fuel subsidy removal and the forex rate that Mr. Moka asked. But Mr. Moka, you said President Tinubu had been relating to the governors, as they were together in cahoot. But one of your new signee, Governor Lawal, was just saying the other day, before he signed for you people anyway, because of the problems in the PDP, that they gave some APC states money, they didn't give some money, so there was disparity, and we also saw what's happening in Osun State. But that apart, how do you explain the way the APC has been able to muscle everybody with an electoral law, despite the fact that we had a presidential challenge on certificate forgery and the APC-led parliament have now been able to expunge that from the basis to be able to challenge an election? And secondly, the APC put in very high penalty on leaving to another political party that you have to pay over 10 million. How they pretty much crafted the electoral law to favor them. And what is happening in the Senate with the case of Abaribe, and now the APC-led Senate is trying to hold Abaribe back, but they forget the case of Ifeanyi Ubah, They forget, like the ADP even had to write a letter recently, that there was nothing wrong with the ADP when a senator left from the ADP to the APC, but they went ahead and they took on those people. The double standards of the APC. That's the first question for you, Mr. Felix Morka. For Mr. Ladan Salihu, a lot of people have complained that the ADC has no depth in terms of policy articulation, has no ideas, and what they're bringing to the table is quite very shallow. I would like to hear it. I would like to know the ADC's approach to ending the massive level of insecurity as we speak today and removing a lot of Nigerians from poverty. What's going to be their approach? And I also want to add the Forex question to it. What are they going to do as regards the Forex, and the conversation about fuel subsidy? Plus, the fact that I'm sure you are aware that we are now seeing two different conventions by the ADC. A faction said they would do this on the 4th of April. Another faction is saying they're going to do that on the 10th of April. So there's a lot of confusion also in the ADC. These are the two insights I want you to go for. I'll come to you, Mr. Morka, first. Then afterwards, Mr. Ladan could take it on.
Thank you, my good friend, Rufai. Now, regarding the electoral law, let me again clarify that the APC as a legal personality is not a member of the National Assembly, neither a member of the House of Representatives nor a member of the Senate. Now, we have members who were elected on the platform of APC, just like we have members elected on the platform of other political parties. So the National Assembly is not properly to be viewed as an entity that belongs to a political party. It is a multi-party assembly charged with constitutional duty to legislate for Nigeria. So let me clarify that, because sometimes we conflate these issues and make it look as if the APC from its national secretariat drafted laws and went to the National Assembly and just, railroaded the law. Yes, I will admit, I'm first to admit that the APC does have a majority in the National Assembly, but that does not begin to, really take away the authority of National Assembly that is rooted in the Constitution to make laws for the governance of Nigeria. So the Electoral Act that has been passed, we are also, learning the new law. Rufai, where, for instance, the removal of the indirect, primary system is a challenge to everybody, to the APC, I'm quite sure, to the, opposition parties. We are all looking to see, how now the options have been reduced by law. How do we then manage the direct primaries and the consensus model? It's an existential challenge to us. I am quite certain to everybody else. So the argument that this, decision by the National Assembly and the law, the new Electoral Act, was, sort of custom made to subvert the opposition, that is utterly ridiculous, because we're just, also, trying to wrap our minds around it. So in other words, the law has been made, is the laws that govern Nigeria today, and unless that law is repealed or amended tomorrow, look, we are stuck with this law, and we must all, I think, take a deep breath and figure out how we comply or manage our affairs consistently with the new law. Now, look, the issue of, Senator Baribe and, his effort to submit a letter to, leave his party, that is a matter that belongs to the Senate. I won't, that matter is still live at the Senate. And I don't think I should offer any opinion about whether or not that was, in any way tweaked, for political reasons. You know what, the Senate, I think I'll defer to them to figure that out. Look, you mentioned, and this is not really my business, Rufai, but I will touch it. The issue of, the ADC and its really
Mr. Morka, I want you to answer the case of certificate forgery or forgery being removed as a ground to challenge election. That's another part of the law people are complaining about. Why did they remove it, despite the fact that we had a challenge of forgery in the last election cycle up to the Supreme Court? Why did they remove that? People are calling for transparency. You leaving it to the party primaries. They might not be able to sort out that. They didn't see through that when some people slipped through the cracks the last time.
Rufai, let me remind you that the Electoral Act does not supersede or overcome Nigeria's, law. Under Nigerian law, certificate forgery is still a criminal activity. The Electoral Act does not abolish forgery, whether certificate forgery or other kinds of forgery, as a crime under Nigerian law. It doesn't. So if the Electoral Act, by the way, I'm not, I don't claim to be an expert on the Electoral Act, but, if the Electoral Act, according to you, has, removed certificate forgery as a ground for, legal challenge. Listen, my point to you is that as a lawyer, I'm not terrified because, in Nigerian law, anybody who forges anything, whether, a check or, a certificate or anything else, is liable to be prosecuted. That law has not been repealed. So my point to you is that lawyers are not losing sleep over your suggestion or what you say, because again, I defer to you. I'm taking your word for it. I haven't, really taken cognizance of a lot of those, all of the totality of the reforms in the Electoral Act. But, let's even say that that's the case. I, as a lawyer, of nearly 37 years, standing, I'm not perturbed because, if you commit a crime vitiates your eligibility to do anything else.
Okay.
If you are convicted or you are alleged to have committed a crime against the law,
allow Mr. Ladan
you can do that.
Let's allow
Yes,
Mr.
please,
Ladan
go
come.
ahead.
Mr.
But that's my
Ladan,
answer
your
to
questions.
Thank you.
Your responses, please.
Well, let me quickly say this before I run back to your question. Look, we all know when you say the National Assembly is this and is that. Look, everybody knows that we don't have a National Assembly. We have a National Assembly that is overpowered by the executive, that has become the echo chamber of the executive. They do the bidding of the executive. They are the willing tools of the executive in perpetuating a grand design to structurally capture power in 2027 by way of subterfuge. So if you take anything to the National Assembly, be rest assured that you will be overpowered. It doesn't matter whether conscience is involved or anything of that. No decorum, no conscience, no anything that will justify how do you delete the issue of forgery from the Electoral Act? It is simply because of the antecedents of their own presidential candidate in the last elections. And if you do that, you are now clearing the ground for him to make sure that such issues do not come up again for discussion in the courts. When you go to the judiciary, let me just leave this for another day. Let me come back to your question, Rufai. The ideas that we have, you talked about the issue of insecurity, you talked about the issue of, poverty and factions in the ADC. Let me start with factions in the ADC. We had a conversation some weeks ago on the issue of, the so-called faction. There's no faction in the ADC. There is a contraption that is called another ADC that is being sponsored by the APC and the APC-led government, that you have a certain, Kachuku and Nasiru Bala. These are people, Nasiru Bala, go and check with the ADC National Treasurer, who had the resignation letter of Nasiru Bala on his own volition from the ADC, along with others that, that resigned before the present structure was formed.
Okay.
So,
quickly
at
touch other
initial,
areas because of
Nasiru
time.
Bala is not even a member of the ADC.
Quickly
Okay, so
Yeah.
to suggest that
Sentence on all the other
anything to do
questions,
with
please,
Nasiru
sir.
Bala and the ADC is another faction is ludicrous. The idea of insecurity, the ADC is coming up with a blueprint that will address comprehensively the issue of insecurity. But let me say this. We have identified that you do not only need technology, you don't need collaboration, with the outside world, but you need boots on the ground.
Okay.
You need to articulate you need to get soldiers. You need to to recruit and train more soldiers, because it is an asymmetric war, where you have people that is almost a guerrilla war. So we will come up with a blueprint that will comprehensively and decisively address the issue of insecurity.
All right.
On the issue of poverty, we have
a sentence on that, please.
I thought you asked me a question.
Yes, I said a sentence on that, please. I thought you asked me a question. A sentence on that, please. We're out of time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. On the issue of poverty, Nigerians are living witnesses to the kind of endemic poverty that is in the land, the kind of, you can cut, poverty through with a knife. And so we are articulating a position paper that will comprehensively deal with the issue. It will take a whole program for me to download, all the strategies.
So we will look forward to having
that you said that we don't have time.
Yes,
when you call me next time, we'll have a conversation of that.
All right. We've tried to give sufficient time for this interview, but of course, we don't have near enough time for the program you'd like to articulate and break down for us this morning. But we thank you very much, Mr. Felix Morka and Mr. Ladan Salihu from the APC and ADC, respectively.